Alright, so if you're watching this, then you have seen Spider-Man Far From Home. And if you haven't, you should turn this video off, go watch my spoiler-free review, and then come back here so we can talk spoilers. This is a spoiler warning. If you have not seen Spider-Man Far From Home, turn this off right now. Alright, and so this is more of a casual thing. I just have my notes on my phone, so I might glance at it every so often just to remember what I'm talking about. First point I want to talk about in this movie, Mysterio. I could not say much about him in my spoiler-free review because then that'd just be the biggest plot spoiler of the whole thing. So if you know the character from the comics, then you know that he's actually a fraud and that he doesn't actually have powers or anything. He's just a effects technician that knows what he's doing, makes it look like he is a big supervillain and has superpowers, but he's still very clever. And so in this movie, you do actually get to see that. So in the beginning, you see that Peter gets or inherits this security system from Tony that's built into his classes called Edith. And after a few things happen, Peter decides, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to pass this on to someone who actually knows what they're doing. And he thinks that's Mysterio, because Mysterio has presented himself as this hero from another universe, another planet, another version of Earth, who has a tragic story and lost his family, but has been fighting these monsters. And so he's like, you know what, you're a better fit for this system, so I'm going to give it to you. And then as soon as he does, and I kind of was like in my seat like, oh no, that's not a good idea. That's not a good idea. And then as soon as Peter leaves, the hologram fades away, and then you see that Mysterio, along with his partners, because he actually has a whole team with him, has basically bamboozled Peter Parker into giving away the craziest, most powerful security system pretty much in the world. I thought that was amazing. And then on top of that, they also have connections to other Marvel movies, like each of the, well, not each of them, but like a couple of the people in his group were kind of wronged by Tony Stark, including Mysterio himself. So you see Mysterio actually invented the hologram system from Civil War that was used by Tony for like therapeutic purposes that he called Barf. And you see like Jake Gyllenhaal in the back of the stage during that scene in Civil War, and he's kind of looking at him like, bruh, are you serious? Did you just call my program Barf? I thought that was a great way of tying it into previous movies. And then to go even further back, there's another guy that Jake Gyllenhaal points to, and he was apparently, I mean, it's probably a different actor, but the character was in the first Iron Man movie. He was the one that Obadiah Stane was yelling at, like, Tony Stark built this in a cave. And I was like, wow, they are really reaching back. So that's what I think was really great about how they tied in this movie to like the rest of the Infinity Saga. I think that's what just made this whole thing come full circle. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And so then Jake Gyllenhaal's performance as Mysterio was great. Seeing him do that turn, like, I was wrong by Tony Stark, and now I have the means to get my revenge on him and actually be a hero and trick all these people. And he pretty much does it. He even has Nick Fury fooled, which I'll get into later. But I think he was just such a great villain. He played off Spider-Man well. He even made Spider-Man feel kind of guilty about things he was doing. He even used the illusions in this movie. The illusions were great, amazing, some of the best effects moments. Like, they were really playing with Spider-Man's mind, and they even played with certain moments you thought were the real world were actually illusions within illusions. It's like Inception. So even when you think sometimes that Peter is safe, he actually isn't. And it's not until the end that Peter kind of catches on and starts using his spider sense to sense these illusions instead of going with what he sees, which I thought was also amazing. And so overall, I would say Mysterio is probably one of the best villains we've seen so far in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and one of the most comic accurate. All right, moving on. Oh yeah, so seeing as Mysterio actually lied about the multiverse, then I guess it doesn't exist. But then again, I'm kind of disappointed in that, and I hope that's kind of also like a kind of like a mislead instead of mislead, like a red herring instead of a red herring. I kind of hope that in a way that he was actually right, and then somewhere down the line you do see that there is a multiverse, and like maybe that's how the X-Men or the Fantastic Four get involved. But I feel like the multiverse is just such a huge missed opportunity if that's not real. So I do hope that it comes back in the future, because I think that'd be a great layer to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and be a great way to bring in more characters from different, or even different versions of characters that we've already seen. Maybe ones that have passed on, maybe not necessarily Iron Man or Cap because they kind of had a good ending, but other characters that we thought were gone, like maybe Quicksilver could come back from a different Earth, like the X-Men Quicksilver could come in. The possibilities are endless, so I hope this is not the end of the multiverse. All right, end credit scenes. These were both pretty crazy. The first one being that Mysterio had a last trick up his sleeve. He recorded a video and like tweaked it so it looked like Spider-Man was attacking him. And then at the end of the video, he's like, also Spider-Man is Peter Parker. So Peter Parker is outed as Spider-Man. The world knows who he is, and it's kind of different than what happened with Tony, because Tony told people himself. He said in front of a press conference, "I am Iron Man." But in this instance, Spider-Man didn't get that opportunity. His secret is out there. But the other thing about this scene that I loved was while you're watching the news report, they're like, okay, we're going to talk to a representative from Daily Bugle. And then it's J. Jonah Jameson. But on top of that is J.K. Simmons reprising the role. And I screamed. I was clapping my hands. I didn't think they were going to do it because he was, one, getting older. Two, he was in Justice League. So he was already in DC Universe again. And I thought they were just going to cast someone new to take over the role. And I am happy they did not do that. I honestly can't imagine anybody else playing J.K. or playing J. Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man. I think he was the best depiction of that character. And also, that's probably why he wasn't in Amazing Spider-Man at all, because they just didn't even want to try it. They're like, no, we're not even going to mess with it. But I think it's so awesome that we have him officially in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I am wondering how that's going to play into Spider-Man's storyline of working for the Daily Bugle. I don't know if he even is going to, because now J. Jonah Jameson knows that he's Spider-Man, so he's going to be like, I hate you, I don't want you working for me. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe there's going to be some way they like wipe everybody's memory. I don't know. But that just, again, opens so many crazy possibilities in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then the second end credit scene, which that one really is got me wondering, where is this going to go? So we see that Maria Hill and Nick Fury were actually Skrulls, and not just any Skrulls, Talos and his wife posing as them for this movie, and we don't know actually how long they've been posing as them, which leads me to ask a few questions. One, at what point did Nick Fury and Talos switch? Like, how long has Talos been Nick Fury? Did he disappear in the snap, or was that actually Nick Fury? Because I did notice as the movie went on, like, this doesn't seem right for Nick Fury. Some of the stuff he's saying and doing doesn't seem in character for him. And I could just feel something was off about him, and I just couldn't explain. I was like, is this just bad writing, or is there something else going on here? And then the end credit scene happens. I'm like, oh, okay, now that makes sense. It's because he's not actually Nick Fury. He's just posing as him. So that part makes sense. But now I'm just wondering, like, at what point did they switch, and at what point, or which stories in the Marvel timeline was Talos actually a part of, and not the Nick Fury that we know? That blows my mind. But then also we see Nick Fury is on a ship out in space with the Skrulls. So I'm guessing that's some kind of tie-in to Captain Marvel 2, which I guess will be more Skrull stuff, which makes sense because they were a big part of the first movie. But I don't know where it's going to go from here. I'm actually really excited for Phase 4. I mean, of course I was already excited, but now I'm even more excited at the possibilities that there are of what could happen and what's possible now. If anything else, I would say I loved Mary Jane's just weirdness and like how she tried to play it off that she didn't like Peter and she just wanted to follow him around because he's Spider-Man. But I actually like that kind of twist on it. And so it makes her feel more human because she admits that she doesn't want to be vulnerable. She doesn't want to put herself out there, so that's why she lied. I thought that was great. I felt that made them feel more human. And it was also cool seeing that they had a classmate. Let me see what his name was. There was this classmate who if I'm understanding it correctly, everybody else got snapped away, but he didn't. And so when they first got snapped away, he was like a kid. But then when they came back, he's like a full-grown teenager. And so he's also kind of competing for MJ's heart. And so seeing that back and forth and seeing that kind of rivalry between him and Peter was great. I gotta find his name. Brad. Yeah, so Brad I thought was a great addition, and I think it was another interesting take on a post-Endgame world. What happens to the kids who were still around this whole time, but now all the kids that they knew that were older than them have come back, have reappeared in the world, and now it's just like they're back like nothing ever happened. So I think that's another interesting take. Also, back to the high school thing. Wow, I'm seeing my mind's just all over the place because there's just so much to talk about. I also liked in the beginning with the news report where they were kind of doing like a memoriam for the Avengers that we lost in Endgame, which were Iron Man, Cap, not because he died, but because he just retired basically, and Black Widow. And so you see like a kind of memoriam, like very like poorly edited one, like because they're high schoolers. And then you also see some footage of what happened during the snap at the high school. So you see like the marching band, half of them kind of just disappear, and then they show the footage of them all coming back. So like you see the new marching band there, and then these old people the people that disappeared just magically pop up again. So like boom, it's like a big like chaos. Everybody falls over because they get knocked over by people coming back. I thought that was kind of a a humorous version of the snap, a humorous take on it, so it's not as morbid as like Peter disappearing or the Pims disappearing and leaving Scott stranded. Like it was kind of a funnier version of that, which I thought was great. So I would say I just had a great time with this movie. Definitely go see it. I'm probably gonna try and go see it again. So again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you in the next one.